We are holding this hearing before President-elect Trump's inauguration, and therefore we have not yet received Mr. Ratcliffe's nomination to be Director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Procedurally, the Senate must receive a nomination before we can vote on and report it out of committee, and therefore we're having this hearing in expectation that the nomination will follow on Monday. When formally nominated by the President after his inauguration, the committee will convene a business meeting to vote on the nomination and report it to the full Senate. As an initial matter, Committee Rule 5.4 states that no confirmation hearing shall be held sooner than 7 calendar days after receipt of the nominee's background questionnaire, financial disclosure statement, and responses to additional pre-hearing questions, unless the time limit is waived by a majority vote of the committee. While the committee received Mr. Ratcliffe's background questionnaire and responses to additional pre-hearing questions more than 7 days in advance, the committee received the financial disclosure statement on January 14th. I therefore ask members for unanimous consent to proceed with the hearing. Hearing no objection, we have consent to proceed. I want to remind all of those in attendance that while they are welcome to observe today's hearing, I will not allow disruptions by the audience. Audience members may not verbally or physically distract from the hearing, including by shouting, standing, raising signs, or making gestures that block the view of other members of the audience. Those who do so will be immediately removed from the room. Our goal in conducting this hearing is to enable the committee to begin consideration of Mr. Ratcliffe's qualifications and to allow for our members' thoughtful deliberation. To date, Mr. Ratcliffe has provided substantive written responses to more than 170 questions presented by the committee. Today, of course, members will be able to ask additional questions and hear from Mr. Ratcliffe in both this open session and in closed sessions. I want to welcome everyone to this hearing on President Trump's nomination of Mr. Ratcliffe to be our next Director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Mr. Ratcliffe, welcome back to the Intelligence Committee. I also want to welcome your wife, Michelle, and thank her and your daughters for the sacrifices they've made across a lifetime of public service. Former Attorney General John Ashcroft is also back before the Senate. Mr. Attorney General, I'm sure your being here makes you nostalgic for your own confirmation process a few years back. John, welcome. We look forward to your remarks. I want to acknowledge also my predecessor, Vice Chairman Warner. Senator Warner and I have worked together collegially over the years, even when we've disagreed strongly. I expect this spirit of comity to continue, not just between the Vice Chairman and me, but across our committee. I also want to thank Senator Rubio for his service on the committee. He remains a member of the committee, but he is otherwise detained this morning at his own confirmation hearing. He's been a trusted colleague and respected leader on the committee for years. We will miss him, but we also look forward to his distinguished service as our next Secretary of State. I want to extend my special thanks to our committee senior staff on both sides as well. They put in yeoman's work over the holidays to be sure we could promptly move forward Mr. Ratcliffe's nomination. I want to begin with a few observations from my decade of service on the Intelligence Committee. The men and women of the Intelligence community perform vital work to protect our nation. They often serve in dangerous and squalid conditions. Their successes are seldom celebrated and even known. Unlike our troops, no one buys them beers in the airport. Sometimes their families don't even know what they do. So let me say to them today, on behalf of this committee and a grateful nation, we respect you, we appreciate you, and we thank you. But we also need more from you. In these dangerous times, our intelligence agencies haven't anticipated major events or detected impending attacks. In just the last few weeks, the members of this committee and, I presume, the President had no forewarning of the New Orleans terrorist attack or the collapse of the Assad tyranny in Syria. The same goes for Hamas's October 7th atrocity against Israel in 2023. I could give other examples, but suffice it to say, we're too often in the dark. While this goes for the entire intelligence community, the problem is especially acute at the CIA, which remains, after all, the central intelligence agency. The CIA needs to get back to its roots, but must overcome several challenges to do so. First, the CIA has neglected its core mission, collecting clandestine foreign intelligence. Put more simply, stealing secrets. Intelligence collection is the main effort. Every other job is a supporting effort. If you don't collect intelligence by, say, handling spies or hacking computers, you should ask yourself how you support those who do or how you harness and use what they produce. I've seen way too many reports over the years with phrases like according to, based on, judging by, followed only by diplomatic accounts and press reports. In other words, not intelligence. And it's gotten worse over the last 4 years. Those sources are not unimportant, but without clandestine intelligence, we might as well get briefed by the State Department or a think tank or just read the newspaper. Second, the CIA has become too bureaucratic. Now, I realize that Alan Dulles probably had the same complaint just 5 years after the CIA was created. But this has also gotten worse in recent years, in no small part thanks to former Director Brennan's so-called modernization. Lines of authority have grown blurry, talkers have replaced doers, managers with no field experience have taken over operational roles, and more. Much like our military, the tooth-to-tail ratio at the CIA is badly out of balance. Third, the CIA's analysis and priorities have been politicized. Intelligence analysis all too often has aligned curiously with the Biden administration's policy preferences. The Afghan army is strong and cohesive. Ukraine's army will collapse within days of Russia's invasion. Israel can't possibly destroy Hamas or Hezbollah. Iran's air defenses are mighty and fearsome. Time and again, the CIA has produced inaccurate analysis that conveniently justifies President Biden's actions, or as often, his inaction. Likewise, the CIA's misplaced priorities have yielded too many reports on matters like the prospects for gay rights legislation in Africa or climate change. These topics may have their place in government, but it's not at the CIA. And I certainly hope to never again see another video, statement, or social media post from the CIA about diversity or equity or inclusion. If you wonder why our intelligence agencies struggle to collect intelligence, consider this fact. The CIA offered to pay diversity consultants 3 times as much as a new case officer. I'm sorry, but if you feel like you need a diversity consultant or an affinity group or your pronouns in an email, maybe the CIA isn't for you. This job isn't about your identity or your feelings, it's about our nation's security. Fourth, the CIA dabbles too much in questions of political judgment, even as it neglects its core mission of intelligence collection. Some of the blame, to be fair, lies with us. I hear questions from this committee about, say, some nation's will to fight, or if we do this, that, or the other thing, what will Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping do in response? These aren't really intelligence questions, but rather matters of statesmanship and political judgment, or prudence, the statesman's supreme virtue. I would observe that Lincoln and Churchill didn't have our vast modern intelligence apparatus, but they were pretty good wartime leaders because they were great statesmen. It's the CIA's responsibility to provide us and the president with timely, relevant secrets. For example, that Russia has mobilized multiple divisions on Ukraine's border at Christmas time and sent perishable fresh blood supplies to the front. It's our job to use that information to discern the inherent logic of events, not to defer passively to the intelligence community's judgment that is a convenient conclusion that Putin hadn't yet decided to invade just days before the obviously impending invasion. Fifth, the CIA needs to become bolder and more innovative in covert action. I've seen successful covert action programs. I've seen debacles. The latter are usually caused by ill-advised constraints by political leaders or when a president uses covert action as a substitute for policy and not a supplement for policy. I'll have to save more for our closed session, of course, but for now I'll just say that the timid indecision that has characterized the Biden administration's overt actions extends to its covert actions. Mr. Ratcliffe, you have a big job ahead of you. The nation needs a strong, capable, and aggressive CIA. I believe the men and women you will lead want to serve in just that kind of agency, They joined the CIA, after all, not a church choir or a therapy session on a college campus. They and the nation are counting on you to deliver badly needed reforms and on this committee to ensure you do. I'll now recognize the Vice Chairman for his opening remarks.